herd hierarchy. Okay, this is it right here. I got like one or two more, but now we got the draft, the free agency, the coaches. Here we go.
Herd hierarchy.
Time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
I'm going to put the Chargers in there. Listen, Herbert and Jim Harbaugh are great, but they lost a lot of offense. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett. They lost like productive veteran dudes. Now, I like the kid they got out of Georgia, Joe Alt, good picks. They got Hayden Hurst. They went and got, Gus Edwards. They did get some replacements, but I don't think they're going to be quite as lethal offensively, but I love the coach. I love the quarterback. I love their tackles. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, I have them at 10.
Number 9.
I may have them under. I'm going to take Houston 9. I may be wrong. They may be higher than this. I just love the way they're run. I like their draft. I like their free agent signings. Stephon Diggs, Daniil Hunter, Joe Mixon. The last 2 years in personnel, they've done as well as anybody in this league. I love what they're doing. Everything about it. I like the way they're coached, their quarterback, their front office. I like everything they're doing. I'll put them at 8 or 9, the Houston Texans.
Number 8.
Philadelphia. Listen, offensively, it's stacked. With or without Kelsey, it's stacked. Receivers, tight end, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. They have new coordinators, so I just want to watch it. A couple years ago, I loved their coordinators. Last year, I didn't like their coordinators. Let's see where we land this year. Mitchell, the corner from Toledo, hopefully solves their secondary, which was a mess, but he alone can't solve them. I have him at 8.
Number 7.
Listen, you can sell all your Buffalo Bills stock, but their O-line and run game finally arrived last year. I'm not having Josh Allen out of my top 10. The other thing about the Bills, I follow college football. I thought they had another excellent draft. And to Stephon Diggs, they lost Gabe Davis. You never knew what you were getting with Gabe Davis. And they went out and drafted Keon Coleman. And if we're going to give Kansas City credit for their star receiver in the draft, why can't I give Buffalo credit for theirs? I have the Bills still hovering around the Super Bowl bubble at 7.
Number 6.
The Niners, they get Hufanga back at safety, and they did address some secondary stuff. They had 9 Pro Bowlers. They all returned from last year, and they went and drafted 2 receivers. Ricky Pearsall, probably they're going to move off Deebo Samuel. I said this. I felt last year they peaked. I thought that was the best of them. They've got older players. They are relying to carry the load. Physical players, Deebo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent Williams. They were mostly healthy last year. They got the Ayuk noise. I think they peaked last year, but I have the Niners at 6.
Number 5.
I love the Packers. I don't think they quite have the roster of Detroit, but I love them. Josh Jacobs, maybe the first or second best running back in the league. They allowed the 3rd fewest sacks in the league, and this team drafts as well as anybody. Forget just the quarterbacks. They draft as well as anybody. Jordan Morgan's a stud at left tackle. I watched them at Arizona. Stud. Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker. Excellent. Javon Bullard, the safety. Marshawn Lloyd, the USC running back. First 4 picks. I thought the Packers and the Buccaneers had the best first 4 picks. I have the Packers at 5.
Number 4.
The Rams. I bought them last year. I thought they had an unbelievable first 4 picks. 4 guys who will start. Corum won't start behind Kyron Williams, but he'll play a ton. All my executive buddies in this league, scouts, thought the Rams crushed it, and they crushed last year's draft. They lost Aaron Donald, but they went and literally got the 2 players they targeted. Jared Verse is the guy along with Brock Bowers in the first round. Those are the 2 guys they wanted, and I think this team, if Matt Stafford is healthy, I think they're going to be excellent.
Number 3.
The Lions. I think it's a stacked roster. I think they're the Niners, but with younger players. I think they're the Niners with a more talented quarterback. They were number 3 in total offense, number 2 in passing offense. They can play from behind. They can play with a lead. They got to the conference championship first time since 91. They added Marcus Davenport off the edge. Carlton Davis, I've always liked him in Tampa, the corner. And then they went out and got Terrion Arnold, another corner. So their big issue last year was like Philadelphia a lot. So like bad at corner, getting torched. They addressed both. They improved their pass rush. I like them.
Number 2.
Ravens. They were the best team for most of the regular season. Why don't I like them? They went and got Derrick Henry. They lose Gus Edwards and Dobbins, but they get Derrick Henry. Listen, they had a disappointing postseason. They rolled teams last year. They rolled teams like Miami. They rolled teams in the regular season. So there's no reason I'm not going to like him. Lamar's in his prime. The coaching staff is great. I had an NFL GM tell me this weekend that he thinks Baltimore's.
For the record, the Dallas Cowboys rolled teams last season as well. How'd that work out for them?
The best run team along with Kansas City and the Rams in the NFL. Baltimore at 2.
Number 1.
Kansas City until somebody knocks him off. Travis Kelce, Chris Jones signed extensions. Xavier Worthy, I don't know how good he'll be. He worries me, his size, track guy, but if anybody's going to make it work, it'll be Kansas City. They added Hollywood Brown, so I think they go into the season. Rashee Rice, cross your fingers on that, but if he returns, I think their receiving core will be much more worthy of a claim than it was this last year.
All right. Well, first off, I'm not crossing my fingers on Rashee Rice because he did something that was absolutely abhorrent and should be punished. I'm not saying he should never play in the NFL or should miss a whole season, but he deserves legitimate serious consequences and doesn't get a pass just because he's famous and won a Super Bowl. Because if you did what Rashee Rice would do, there's a very good chance you'd become a convicted felon and probably go to jail. That's the reality, especially the fact that you fleed. So I'm not crossing my fingers for someone like that. Don't think so. But okay. In terms of this top 10, I think the teams themselves are good. And I've said this now a lot. I don't love ranking teams, ranking players. I like to put them in groups more than anything. But shows like this and, YouTube apparently just loves lists. So here we are. But I put Kansas City as number 1 for sure, without a doubt. The Ravens, it's still a question mark to me. I think the Ravens are unbelievable and amazing, but I feel a little scarred from that last playoff game because they lost that game. Kansas City Chiefs didn't win that game, and that always makes Kansas City Chiefs fans very angry when I say that. And I just don't know if the Ravens learned their lesson or not. And now this is also with the idea that everyone's going to stay healthy. Because also I'm just not so sure that Lamar Jackson will stay healthy again for a whole another season. That was really like the first time that he actually really did that. So I think, but if we're just going to do this list based off of everyone fully healthy, because you don't know if Derrick Henry and all these types of things. I put Baltimore up there. But at this point, I put KC at number 1 mainly because of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Spags, and the true experience that they have, right? That already now sets them apart. But now, I'm going to put the Ravens, the Lions, the Packers, the Rams, and the Eagles, and the 49ers. I know, that's unsexy. All in this bunch. That they all could win these playoff games. That it's all just going to be how's the ball going to bounce? Is your field goal kicker going to, hit the ball off the uprights? Is your punter going to, get it in the 1 yard line, or is it going to go back into the back of the end zone? That's what it's going to come be. I understand his argument about the 49ers. I think the 49ers will be great. I could see them peaking. I'm not expecting Brock Purdy to make some gigantic step forward and just for him to continue to get better and better and better and better and better and better and just be this unbelievable lights out quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback, but I think we have a pretty good idea who Purdy will be. But I'm watching optimistically. And I get what he's saying that the 49ers, their key players are old. And so the chances of them staying healthy is probably pretty slim. But if they stay fully healthy, then they'll be just as good as they were last season and could absolutely make it to a Super Bowl. But make no mistake about it, just as much as they came very close to winning a Super Bowl and probably should have won the Super Bowl, they also could have lost to the Packers. They also could have lost to the Lions. I think the Lions and the Packers have arrived. I think the Lions and the Packers are going to be like, you guys think that we just kind of maybe caught fire or this was a little fluky last season, but we have arrived. And our really great players are now a little bit older and a little bit more mature. And they're ready to go. And our quarterbacks are getting comfortable. Goff's been comfortable, but, Jordan Love is getting more and more comfortable as the days go on. And I hope that the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, the coach, has learned from his lessons, understands that there's a time and a place to be aggressive. Andy Reid kicks field goals all the time, and he's got Patrick Mahomes, and they win Super Bowls. So I hope Dan Campbell understands when it's time to be aggressive and when it's not. Otherwise, he will hold back the lines. But I still believe in especially all their weapons and their OC. And so, and the Chargers, I think the Chargers are a hard one. I think the Chargers are on like a 1 to 2 year plan to try to right the ship. So if they don't have this great year right off the bat, I'm a little bit more forgiving for that. I think you got to give Harbaugh a minute because he has been out of the NFL and he has to rebuild this team. I think the Texans will absolutely be legit, can absolutely fight for an NFC championship and maybe even win a Super Bowl. I think some people have said, well, look at their schedule. They had an easier schedule, yada, yada, yada. And I get that, but they continue to get better. They continue to build their roster and get more weapons, get more fortified. CJ Stroud is going to get better. I believe in their OC tremendously and their defensive head coach. And so I just think that they're going to continue to get better. Yes, their schedule will be harder than it was last year, but I still think that they will be successful. They will make the playoffs, and no one will want to face them come time playoffs. The Eagles, I think the Eagles are going to be great. I think the Eagles will absolutely be a fantastic team. I think they made it to the playoffs with a banged up Jalen Hurts, players that were literally going to retire, so they had just nothing left in the tank, and two terrible OCs and DCs. A terrible OC and DC. And they had just gone to the Super Bowl. So, and yet they still made it to the playoffs. They still won what was like 10 games in a row, which I said over that season that the Eagles are not that good of a team, that, that record is misleading, that they easily could be like 6-11. So I'm not just saying that the Eagles are amazing just for the sake of saying that they're amazing. But to me, the problem was not the players outside of defense. They've upgraded at defense. They got younger on defense. They drafted players that continue to upset Micah Parsons, and they got the OC and the DC choice right. The defense is going to be way better just from coaching standpoint as well as personnel standpoint. The offense also got upgraded. They got a bona fide running back. And remember, this is all in the idea that everyone's healthy. And so they have a fantastic set of weapons. And now they have the new OC who will actually be able to get players open, because that whole season was brutal. I mean, what was asked of Jalen Hurts and just the weapons in general was just brutal. I mean, there was just never just consistent throws to someone who was open, who had room to run. I mean, it was tough to watch. It was just like they were in quicksand. That's going to change. Not to mention, I think the division is significantly easier now, because I think the Giants are nothing. I think the Commanders are nothing. And I think the Cowboys will struggle as well. I won't say they're nothing, because the Cowboys will always be a formidable foe, but I think the Eagles definitely have that. And so I just think that this year, especially this coming season, is going to be wildly exciting, because, again, as long as everyone stays healthy, I think it's just going to be like, I have no idea. I'm not just going to say the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Oh, well, of course it's going to be the Ravens versus the Chiefs. No way, man. I could easily see the Texans beating the Ravens. I could easily see, if the way how the schedule unfolds in terms of playoffs, that the Ravens face the Chiefs early on and they knock out the Chiefs. I could definitely see that. I could see the Bills making noise. Josh Allen is unbelievable. I don't know all the pieces that the Bills got. I'm also a little scarred from the last playoffs with the Bills. And it just seems like they just won't do right by Josh Allen. And I know there's a lot of optimism around the OC, about the OC who came in mid-season last year. And so I remain optimistic, but I don't have like a tremendous amount of confidence, because the Bills, that front office and the coaching staff just seem to not want to elevate Josh Allen and put him in a position to succeed. Look no further than just keeping Sean McDermott as the head coach. And, pretty much the opposite of what teams like the Packers, the Rams, the Lions, the Texans, the Chargers have done, and Kansas City, of course. So that's why I remain more skeptical about the Bills more than anything, even though I have full belief in Josh Allen. As a lot of people know, they think that I'm a Patrick Mahomes hater and a Josh Allen apologist. But yeah, no, I mean, I really think that that's the gist of it. Oh, and I didn't talk about the Rams. And I'll say about the Rams, I think the Rams will be good. And although I'm going with this idea that they're all going to stay healthy, I still remain skeptical that they'll be able to stay healthy, especially Matthew Stafford. And same thing with Cup. And I don't know. I think they're also a formidable foe. And again, Sean McVay, unbelievable. Stafford, unbelievable. Puka Nacua, unbelievable. Like, I think they're going to be a great team, and nobody wants to face them. And I do add them into that mix of who can win. If it's Packers versus the Rams, I'm not going to be like, well, clearly the Packers. Or if it's the Rams versus the 49ers, I'm not going to be like, well, obviously the 49ers or obviously the Rams. Like, that's why I'm really, really excited. Because I just think if we took all these teams and put them in their own playoff brackets, I really would have no idea. The only team that would at least 100% be composed and have a fantastic game plan would be the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the only team that you can't really doubt. You could say, hey, they're maybe not as good as years past, or hey, some of their offensive weapons are still lacking, this, that, and Travis Kelce's getting a little bit older, yada, yada, yada. Like, you can make those arguments, but you still know that they're going to keep their composure, that they're going to do all the little things and minimize mistakes. You can't say that about the Lions. You can't say that about the Ravens. You can't say that about the Packers, the Texans, the Bills, the 49ers you could maybe say that about, but you can't say that about the Chargers, and the Eagles. I give that a coin flip 50-50. I'm on the fence of how much I trust, mainly more because I don't trust Sirianni to be the calming presence in any moments of adversity. I'm not a big, Sirianni fan. So, but yeah, no, the fact that we have all these great teams with great quarterbacks and great weapons, and for the most part, great coaches. I mean, think about it. All of these guys, all of these teams either have unbelievable coaches or unbelievable coordinators that will one day be head coaches, and I think it's wildly exciting. Yeah. So yeah, I do agree. I'm trying to think if there's any other random teams that are on the outside looking in. I know probably people are thinking about what about the Miami Dolphins? What about maybe even the Jets? And I think the Miami Dolphins will be who they were last season. I think the Jets, and I've said this, I think the Jets could actually make legitimate noise, but they do have, every single player is just a gigantic question mark of health. So I think that's, where they come into things. But I'm excited for next season, and I can't wait. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think about Colin's herd hierarchy, the top 10 post-draft for the NFL teams? And what do you think about my thoughts? What do you agree with and disagree with me with? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.